Hi, welcome to the It's Show Business podcast. I'm your host, Latif Tayour. In this episode, we're interviewing comedian Eddie Della Siepe in Toronto when him and I are doing some shows out there. We had a great time, Comedy Bar, a bunch of other places. So hope you enjoy the pod. We hit number 54 on the iTunes charts for comedy interviews, so we'd love a rate and subscribe. And without further ado, here's the pod. And rolling, hey.
Do you want headphones?
No.
You sure?
Need headphones?
I mean, I don't need headphones, but we can use headphones.
But we only have one pair.
One ear each.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Well, thanks for doing my podcast.
Are we starting already?
You know, we always start from the top.
I love this. I love when it's naturally like you don't even know if you're on a podcast. You're just kind of talking with a buddy.
Yeah, just come over to my Airbnb and we have microphones and...
Your Airbnb, if I must say, great app, great product, Airbnb. But, for what you pay for, you really get something that looks a bit porny. Like it's got a bit of a porn.
It has a lot of accoutrement,
accoutrement. Dropping that in the first 10 minutes. Oh man, it has a certain je ne sais quoi. It does have a little bit of a porn vibe in here, but I don't mind it. You kind of got a porn director vibe.
You're reusing the Dave bit.
Yeah, of course.
You got the porn mustache. That's all.
I do have a porn mustache. I do.
Yeah. It's too cluttery in here. It's just too much.
Yeah, you're right. When you described it to me, you said it's too many pillows, too many throws. Like if you want to sit on this couch, you'd have to throw everything off and then lay down and cry or whatever you do in here. But
pretty much nailed it. Yeah. It's like someone bought a condo and was like, nah, I want to own a hotel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to look like I live in a hotel.
Yeah. That clock over there.
Oh my God. That's an unsightly huge clock. Is that on a giant's arm? A wrist? That's incredible.
It's straight out of a hotel lobby.
Dear God.
Yeah, so this is it. But it's been fun. Toronto's been fun. We've been doing shows.
Yes. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad we got a chance to... We first bonded over our... I was at the Just for Laughs Festival in February.
Yeah.
And you were there seeing family, and then you got on some shows, and we hit it off, and friends ever since. Yeah,
it's been... tremendously long 4 months.
They can hear the eyes rolling.
They can see them.
Oh yes, we're on some sort of a camera.
It's been fun. That we did the Alt Lounge tonight.
Alt Comedy Lounge, which was at one point a very premier show in Toronto, and we did Comedy Bar, which is a great venue, and Yuck Yucks. I did some shows there, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the guy who got us on the show, he was saying it was where Kids in the Hall started.
Kids in the Hall started there, and they were. The premier sketch group, obviously, at the time, and there were lineups around the corner to watch Kids in the Hall perform. Yeah, very cool. A lot of history.
Yeah, Comedy Bar is great.
Comedy Bar is great.
2 great rooms.
Yuck Yuck's a lot of fun.
Yuck's fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And what was your favorite show out of the whole?
I have to say that small room at they were all great shows, but the small room on the second night at Comedy Bar, it was just... popping.
A little magic in there. It felt nice.
They just wanted to have fun, and they were into everything that was going on.
It felt like we were in a little bunker of comedy, which...
Comedy Bunker.
Great show.
Hey, little plug of the show.
Every Wednesday.
July 10th, which is going to be well before this comes out. So it's too bad. Cool. You will have missed Jimmy O Yang and others.
Am I one of very few guests on the pod?
One of very few guests, one of the early guests.
Sweet.
Had to cut a few, but...
oh, no.
It's a new podcast. You try to figure out your rhythm. And,
right. I'm having that with my podcast, too. I'm trying to, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's podcast time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this...
Do you know that's a quote from Cool Runnings? The movie? Do you know that?
No.
Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's bobsled time. Cool Runnings? No?
Nah. Just
John Candy?
I get it. You're from Toronto. No, there's Jamaicans here.
It was a Disney film.
Yeah, sure it was.
Yeah. It's about the Jamaican bobsled team in the 88 Olympics.
Jamaicans in snow, no one will buy it.
Okay. They do live in Canada.
They do an audience thing. This will be huge in Toronto. Trust me.
Cardinal, what do you think? He says you don't know.
Yeah, he says old time killing.
Yeah, these are all very local patois North American references.
Well, thanks for doing the It's Show Business podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
This is where we talk about show business, the business behind it.
Business
and
of show.
When we actually were on the same flight back from JFL Northwest.
Right.
And we were talking a lot about the business side. And
Yeah.
since then, I wanted you to always wanted to have you on the podcast because you had especially for a comedian, have a good business mind.
Oh,
and
cool.
a really
Thank
good,
you very much.
I learned a lot talking to you just about the business behind comedy.
Interesting.
And, the Sirius XM stuff,
Right.
like the different revenue streams and how
Right.
you can really like support yourself and have a good living.
I find that, if we're talking about being a comedian and being in business, you really realize that although you have agents, managers, lawyers, whatever, no one is going to push for you more than you push for yourself. And you have, I can't stress this enough about any artist for that matter, is being organized. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You see people who are constantly disorganized. I have a show when, I'm booked to do what? My flight's when? I'm always so surprised how hard is it for like an artist to be organized. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't have to be meticulous. You don't have to be some sort of mad scientist when it comes to every hour of your day where you're calculating I'm going to work on my script here, I'm going to work on jokes here, I'm going to be the show for this long, and then go home. You can still be an artist within those parameters.
Right.
But I really feel like a lot of opportunities are missed due to lack of awareness of your schedule.
Yeah. And it can creep up on you. Like we were talking about August dates, and I let up out the gas, like booking shows in June, and now like my August is kind of empty.
Yeah, like I'm going to go to New York for a week. And the moment that I found out that I was going to go, because my girlfriend, she works in digital marketing. You've met Courtney. She's awesome. And she's going to go for a meeting for the week. And the moment she said August 19th week, my mind starts calculating. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, will I be able to go there and do these certain shows and have this one manager come see me? Maybe I can get one Tuesday, Wednesday. I have an album to prep for in October. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should make sure my notes are in order for those shows. So I feel like maybe I'm an exception, but there are others that do this as well, is that just because you're given one thing doesn't mean it's in a vacuum and that's what it is. There's so many things around it that predicate on that one moment. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a meeting, whether it's being prepared, or whether it's making sure it lines up with other things you got going on. So
yeah. Short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals.
Right.
I think one thing that really stuck with me is like you can overestimate what you plan to achieve in 1 year and underestimate what you can achieve in 10.
Right, of course.
So like all of a sudden, like if you do small steps and you're constantly improving, that matters more over the long term. It's
difficult for comics. I mean, we're in different situations when it comes to our, obviously experience. Mm-hmm. You've been doing a little shorter than I have. But the one thing I do find that anyone in the arts that when you're doing this as a business is you have to have that business mindset, but also I cannot stress you have to have that true childlike enjoyment of the art form. And if you can keep both those in hand and be aware of both, then that's when I think you can succeed. For instance, still, if you're a comedian for that matter, you're making sure your calendar's aligned, make sure your agent knows where the holes in your schedule are, making sure you know where your holes in your schedule are, making sure that you have a certain amount of time to achieve certain goals, making sure you're at certain places where you want to either do well or you want to be seen. I know it sounds a little like kind of like LA, be seen at these places, but there is something that can be said for being in the right moments, in the right atmosphere.
Yeah, FaceTime is a big part of being a comedian.
FaceTime, and you never know, you might pick up little tidbits. It's tidbits, right?
Little tidbits of information. Pick up a tidbit.
Pick up little tidbits of information, and if you're around the business enough, you'll learn. That's why some of these people, like whether you're in finance or whatever, a lot of decisions get made on the golf course or over drinks. So I think once you punch out, it doesn't mean it's over. You have to constantly be ingratiate yourself in this business of show, and you have to have that mindset. Like, okay, I want these things accomplished. I have to do these things to get these things accomplished, and have stuff mapped out for the year. But also, you have to show true enjoyment towards the work.
Yeah,
and that's why I hang out with comics that enjoy telling jokes, especially someone on the younger side in terms of stand-up, in terms of experience. Someone who's like, yeah, I'm trying to get this new bit to work, and there's a true like a little glint in their eye, a little glimmer there where it's like, this is just fun, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And if you keep that childlike enjoyment of the art of it, it'll show on stage, and then the audience only sees what you do on stage. You can still have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you got to be being present. Like even in my set tonight, like I walked out there and the first minute I can tell like I wasn't connecting with the crowd. I followed a guy who's doing a lot of crowd work.
Right.
And then I just had to reset and be present, and then I kind of slid back into it.
Yeah, you know what? You can even acknowledge. Sometimes acknowledging the elephant in the room is a big one. I mean, just a little inside baseball for comics. But even if you went out there and was just like, "Hey, you know how that last guy was like really likable, and it was did a little crowd work on." Yeah, I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
and then you just get into it.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you address it, then the audience will give you a little leeway and be like, "Oh, we just went from like a party song to like a really cool ballad."
Yeah. With like a really quick fade.
Yeah.
And the host had a lot of people. I think they had more comics tonight than they typically had. So
right.
He's trying to like get him in, get him out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. Like even trips like this, which is mainly for love of it.
Absolutely.
But you're making a lot of contacts too. I mean, I think also with show business, you forget. Just because you're not getting paid doesn't mean doesn't have any value.
No, it's an investment.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, anyone in finance will tell you, how many seminars I go to, you know how many courses I take, you know how many times I like lunches or online courses, or I'm constantly reading books on certain things, or keeping up to date with what's trending. And like these are sort of lessons that doesn't just stop at the arts.
Right. And I started later, so to me, if I can accelerate it by, investing in a trip, these are all worthwhile investments for me.
And you meet people and you just know, you just want to be, you're also getting used to being familiar in uncharted waters. Like now, if you go to Portland, you just know how to just ingratiate yourself in the scene more. You just you don't feel like you're lost. You're like, hey, I'm going to show up at these shows and shoot the shit with some people. And it's like, hey, you know him, I know her, and
That's so great about New York too. It's like, you see a couple guys who used to live in LA, and then from there you meet
people, meet other people.
Yeah, then you're like, oh, let's all go to this show together. Yeah, it was really fun.
That's the one thing about LA I will say when it comes to show business is that the hang, quote unquote, has way more value than it does anywhere else. I think because it's somewhat you have time to do it
more than New York.
I think New York you're really busy doing shows.
Yeah,
if you choose to be.
Yeah.
And it's also more of a party vibe. People are drinking, and it's a true city with a true heartbeat where people are like, hey man, I'm in New York, having some drinks on a patio, we're walking around, stumbling into the subway. I'm not saying all people do that, but I'm just saying that's there. Where in LA, when it comes to show business, there is a little bit of that, but everyone's kind of like
LA feels like an isolated.
It's
like isolated hang. It's like let's go to the store, we'll hang there. Okay, cool, we did that. Let's go to the Improv. Maybe
it's not as organic. You have to make definite choices.
Okay, let's go to this diner and eat some food, and then that's like the night where I felt like I was being pulled in all these different directions in New York. Like, let's just walk down here to this show.
And you're like, where? What? Okay.
Yeah, or just like, and then you walk out from that show and you see, walk out from the Village Lantern and you see someone just leaving the cellar, and then you talk to them, and then you're just like, It
is fun, but for someone who's a planner like myself, it's a bit of a nightmare. Like, where are we going? What are the directions? Can someone drop a pin?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it was some spontaneous walks for sure. Yeah,
I'm going to New York in a week, and I'm already planning shows to do, and I really feel like also you keep people who have the similar sort of, I was never under the thought that. And we've had talks about this where you attach yourself to this. You attach yourself to whoever's hot so you can get their energy a little bit. I look at it the other way. I want to make my own, and I attach myself to people who are good people, who are funny, who have a genuine love towards being great at stand-up. And the business side, you'll figure out through trials and tribulations down the way. Mm-hmm. But if you have that commonality of like, we all love telling jokes, I might be better, you might be better, this person might be a little bit new, this person's a little bit more of a veteran, But at the end of the day, we're all a handshake away from making it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And you never know, like, not everyone gets the same timeline in show business. So some people might feel, you know, they get things earlier, or some people say, oh, that person got it too soon, that person got it too late. But, you know, a lot of it's staying in it, you know?
Yeah.
There's always this thing. I find it more with actors, too. It's like actors never want to quit because they're like, oh, I'm just one gig away from making it, right?
Yeah.
And it's similar in music.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous because there's a perception that if I just stay, I'll make it. But sometimes you have to be a little bit tactical in terms of why you're staying.
You know, it's funny. Like I always say, LA is like you just got to tread water until the boat that is looking for you picks you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can still tread water towards where you think the boat's going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like Gretzky skate to where the puck's going.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can sort of like I think my hit is here.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's going to be in a podcast sense.
Right.
It's going to be a stand-up sense. So I'm going to tread water to where I think that's going to be. Mm-hmm. I really believe, you know, there's a lot of people that like are believers that you can have a lot of slashes. You're a comic, actor, producer, podcaster. You do a bunch of social media stuff. And I think that's great. If it could also be very tiring. It could be a lot of work, which is fine. But I'm a big believer that whatever lane is at least that you can really floor it in, be in that lane and do as well as you can in it. Because a guy like myself, I'm not really a big actor. I'm not into acting as much. And I can be pressured into it. I'm sure I could have been at one point when like get some classes, and I would have been disinterested and wasting time and wasting money I need for rent to stay afloat in LA, money I could have invested in other things that truly interest me. And I think if you don't have that genuine little spark of like interest, like we talked about in terms of stand-up, you're never going to compete against that person that will die for it.
Right. And you can't.
And there are those people in LA.
Yeah. You can't improve in everything. It's like war. To be strong everywhere is to be weak everywhere. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you don't build up your fortifications in one area first, it's hard to win the war of life, you know?
Who said that? Was that Hitler? I don't just say that to everybody.
I think it was Sun Tzu.
Any quote, I go, was that Hitler? And then the person's like, is it? Am I quoting Hitler? I want them to always wonder if they're quoting a complete
right. I think it was Sun Tzu.
Monster. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Clausewitz.
For me, I really believe that mentality of like be a slash person, all these slashes in show business.
Yeah.
I think you're never going to do as well as someone who's putting 100% focus into something.
And it's always exciting to be, I'm an actor now, or like, I'm a podcaster now. It's so exciting to learn all the basics of that new thing instead of being like, like the drudgery of like just writing more or just doing grinding more.
I do think that like
even buying equipment is exciting.
Yeah, of course.
And going to get, I'm an audio guy, so like buying all the podcast equipment was like, I can set it up, plug it in.
Yeah.
And that feels like work, but that's nothing. That's just
you love doing it.
There's some technical stuff on the side of it's like reorganizing the files on your desktop. It's not work. You're not anywhere closer to your goals.
For me, I slowly learned that, I did some sketch stuff and it was fun. I did some, but then podcasting for me really, I did well with my podcast, Barely Friending. We, at our peak, we're getting 120,000 downloads a month. We were ranked in the top 5 in comedy. We were getting real fans. And I've showed you some glimmers of that as well. And we were making some money off of advertising, some Patreon money too. It wasn't a great stream of income, but it was enough to like, hey, I'm paying rent this month based on my podcast, or next month I'm all my small expenses are being paid for your podcast, which is a great thing.
I mean, it's real money. It's income.
It's real money, and it's not. You're not dipping into savings. You're
you're not temping or doing something else.
Yeah, you're not using your time uncreatively. But also, when you take a look at it, like I made this money because I was having fun on a microphone into a small machine.
Yeah.
1 hour every day, 1 hour every week.
Yeah.
And then add some social media posts and some and you think of it like the amount of time that really is the grand, you say that to someone who works hourly and you're like, what? Sometimes I take a step back and be like, man, I just made money today, and I'll just tell stuff that I wanted to say. I think
it's pretty magical.
It is magical. I think in showbiz, you have to take a moment when you're making some money to take a step back. You're like, I could easily be not doing this.
The thing about podcasts is they're complementary to almost everyone's ambitions.
Of course.
Oprah has a podcast.
Yeah. If you're anyone that likes anything, there not only is there a podcast for you, there is a genre for you. There's your favorite celebrity who also likes this, is talking about this. There's so much.
And if you're in the business of building an audience,
right,
your audience exists. And your audience usually wants to know more about you, and this is the avenue to provide it.
I learned quickly that maybe this is my thing. I'm good off the cuff. I'm good in a microphone. I've been holding a microphone since I was like 21 years old on stage.
Oh.
I was just, oh my God. I'll bring my own, I was a headset guy for 5 years. Like, sound guys hated me. Like,
you just have in-ears everywhere you go. Eddie in-ears is
here. I looked like I was like coming off a McDonald's shift, but I forgot the headgear, from the drive-thru. But anyway,
Right.
I used to...
You're just walking on coals doing Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. What a monster. Anyhole is a phrase I say in my podcast. That's a little thing I do. Anyway. So I wasn't a sketch guy or an actor, and you're thinking, why do you live in LA? Well, quality of life, and it is a lot of things are happening in LA that I love, and I just feel like it's where I just gravitated towards. But I could have went the acting route, but I just knew my heart was in stand-up, and in terms of my other attention, I had to go through podcasting. I think anyone here who wants to get in show business and wants it to be a business, I think the business tells you what you should be doing. I think it'll tell you, hey, stand-up's going really well. You're getting some respect. You're getting some spots. You're getting opening for people. They're noticing. This might be a tributary for you.
Right.
Maybe you're directing a sketch and then it just looks good, looks slick. People are noticing, get some attention, some views. People are asking you to shoot other stuff. Like, oh, this might be something I should dedicate a little more time to.
LA shows you where your momentum is.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really
and sometimes
does.
it's in nothing.
Sometimes it's nothing.
Yeah. And that's the hardest one to notice.
Yeah, it's the hardest one to notice. Sometimes it might be in not being in show business at all.
Yeah.
But
it's like that. I can't remember who said it. It was on Comedians in Cars. Like, LA is like Vegas, except when you crap out.
When you crap out, you don't leave. Yeah, it's true. Because it's the last filter on the pool. Yeah. So some clean water goes through and a lot of algae sticks around.
And there's still a thing in LA where it's like, well, I'm here. I made it. Like, and then,
this is a big part of making it, is being here.
Yeah. But it's such a small step depends what your ambitions are ultimately.
Right.
But I mean, you and I were both Canadians, so just leaving Canada is always such a huge step. Like,
I mean, you see it when you're out here. There's a certain gravitas towards it. There's a certain an energy people feel when you shake their hand and go, "Oh, no, I'm from LA," and they're just like, "Whoa, that from Canada." And maybe not so much Van because it's a little closer to Vancouver, but from Toronto, it feels like another world away.
It still feels the same in Van. I mean, like just the paperwork to get the O1 visa and like photocopying all this stuff and like digging through old credits and like making a file and then being told that file is not good enough and then getting reference letters and
I was talking to you about this before too. At one point, I remember you said you should mention on the podcast when I was talking about being organized. If getting a green card for me was like, oh, this is like if it was school, this is your year.
Yeah.
Like this is like the project that dictates whether I pass or not. Mm-hmm. And it's in a weird way it is. But man, anyone here listening to this podcast who is born and raised in America, and you look at someone who is got into the United States and has their paperwork all done and stuff like that, they have to be of exceptional ability. And to get in there is so hard. I mean, you got a visa. I got my green card. I'll run it down with you, but like it was my application was 280 pages. It cost me $10,000, which I took a loan out for. Mm-hmm. What I did was, as an artist, I said, okay, if I'm going to be an artist, I'll do a little tributary here, a little caveat here. But if I'm going to be a full-time artist, I went to my bank here in Canada before I moved to Los Angeles, and I took out a credit line of $25,000, as much as you can do without a collateral, without a home or whatever. And I said, I'm going to dip into that. And I'm going to go back into that for some rent, for some whatever, just to keep me afloat. Not because I'm like, I want to just sleep in and be lazy, which I do. But I feel like you have only so much, you have to know who you are as a human being. And I know that I only have so much mental real estate that I can dedicate towards being a comedian. And I need that free. Right. And if it's consumed with me flipping a burger or like pouring coffee, and granted, those things are great in what they give you in terms of freedom, in terms of economic freedom to be an artist or whatever it is. But I knew that if I wanted to truly be in it, I have to go all in. Yeah. So I took that out, and I remember, I'll never forget, a girlfriend told me this one time. I remember I was talking about, going for a green card, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go in debt for this. And I just got out of debt, and, and we're in a car, and she pointed at a convenience store. I go, someone owns that, and they're probably in the debt $100,000, and they're in debt for a convenience store. Right. And you can't be in debt for your dream? Mm-hmm. I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
Bet on yourself, yeah.
Bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Double down. If you lose, you tried.
You already have, it's hard to know at that point how nothing you have in terms of money and assets.
Right.
You think, it's so easy. It never feels that way, but when you're young, it's so easy to start over. And what you're risking is like nothing.
Nothing.
It doesn't feel like that at the time.
It doesn't feel like nothing. But for instance, that $10,000, that's been paid for and taken back. It's gone.
You could declare bankruptcy and that would suck, but you would have made it. You took a shot.
Took a real shot. I had a lawyer. I don't know if I told you this. I had a lawyer, a friend of mine who originally from Boston, was an immigration lawyer, but also a comic. Mm-hmm. And he got hired by a law firm in Toronto, and he worked out of there. And he was dealing with, he did visas for some of the Raptors and some players on the Maple Leafs and stuff like that. So he was dealt with people of exceptional talent. Mm-hmm. And I remember I asked him, I go, I think I'm going for a green card. I hit a point in Canada where I was doing everything I could do. I was on TV. I just felt like I wanted more. I was destined for more, and I wanted a real shot. I didn't want to have regret. I didn't want to be clicking around the TV and be like, "Hey, I think I know that guy. Right. He's on this. He's doing this. He's doing late night. He's doing that." So I remember asking him, and he told me, he goes, "Well, these are for people who get nominated for a Nobel Prize, or these are people who got nominated for a Grammy, or are a scientist, you're a comic, dude." I go, "Oh, okay." And I said, you know what? If someone's going to say no, it's going to be the U.S. government. It's not going to be some lawyer.
Yeah.
So I got a second opinion, and they're just like, "I think you got enough."
From a different lawyer?
Different lawyer. Yeah. I think you got enough. I thought I had enough in my gut.
Yeah.
And maybe he didn't want to take on the case.
Yeah.
But
it also might not be his field. He might not comedy.
But I was asking. He was a comedian, though.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So I was asking for his opinion, not asking to hire, not to take me on. His opinion,
right? And maybe he's too close to it.
Maybe, or I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm funnier than this guy.
Yeah. But remember, he's American, and I remember hearing this, and I was like, you know what, man, if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose because I went.
Yeah.
I jumped in the pool and that's it. That's the reason why. And she was like, "Let's do it." And then I took money out of this. I took money I didn't have, and a lot of paperwork. We're talking your little things like get your long form birth certificate.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, get your tetanus shot.
Yeah, get your measles, mumps, rubella shots. It's just a lot of stuff was happening. It took over a year. Yeah. And I finally got approved. And once I got approved, I remember being so happy, but also being like, yikes, I'm in debt. Yeah. So I had to claw my way out of it. And eventually I got to the United States, and things have been groovy. Things have been great. But I think a big lesson in all this is in show business is bet on yourself. Now, you can bet on yourself in ways that are strategic. Mm-hmm. you can be a little bit of a poker shark in that. You don't have to like put it all in because you just have a hand. You should, when the time is right, know when to put it all in.
Right.
I think that's a big thing.
Strategic bets. Yeah.
Strategic bets. Like if you feel like for me, like I had the credits, I was on TV enough, I had enough going on. I think it's now. Yeah. Not 5 years ago. Now.
The best advice I ever got about the U.S. was that you just have to jump and the net will form there.
Yeah.
Like, because it's always going to feel wonky. It's always going to feel like, what am I doing? Like, something's always going to feel weird. Like, what? The money's all the same color? What? Like,
also, I don't know how you felt this way, but the immigrant experience, especially in North America, from parents, it really drove me. I'm like, I got a dad born and raised in Italy, a mom from South America. And they moved to North America, made a life with no English, no education, owned a home. Granted, homes were cheaper back then, whatever. You can say all you want about like how things were easier for people back then. But the point is, they still did it with nothing.
Yeah.
I could never look my dad in the eye and be like, LA's hard.
Right.
Like I have a skill set. I have a security blanket with some savings. I have a phone that tells me where to go and how to go there. Yeah. I have every instrument to help me.
You're allowed to be there.
I'm allowed to be there.
Which is a lot of people's like
big one. Yeah. Where do I go? This says these are the people that can help you in terms of small shows. So I think that drove me a lot, like suck it up kind of vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
And granted, like that may not be everyone's experience, but that was really valuable for me.
Yeah.
And I think anyone in show business, if you, talk to someone that had to go through it, especially someone who's like, I have friends that like live in New York with like 5 roommates in a room or something crazy shit. Yeah. Like, wow, really?
But there's nothing, everyone should do the broken New York thing. It builds character and it's like, it really shows you what's important.
Right.
Like that living is important and having things is not that important.
It's this huge like initiation into show business too. Like, hey, are you willing to be like scared?
Yeah, you're willing to take the train in the snow. Are you willing to trudge around to do all what you got to do?
Yeah, I really think that like creating security blankets in terms of economic freedom was a big one for show business. For show business wise, for me, having that credit line, having your shit in order. Small things help build that. Paying your credit card on time.
Yeah. My credit line was a CIBC low interest credit card.
Mine was a TD Canada Trust credit line. And I paid. One thing I learned from my dad, and this helped me in show business a lot, was what he didn't have in education, he made up for with having his shit together. Something is in the mail, pay it. Licensing renewed, do it.
Yeah.
And I know you're thinking like, well, I do that too. But when you do that in things that, in small things like that in your life, it just sets a precedence for the bigger things.
Yeah. A lot. It's like that 30 second.
I'm like that with my schedule. Like I need shows this week.
Yeah. Or the 5-second rule can be done in 5 seconds, do it now. And that's off your mental plate.
Oh, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
5 seconds, do it now.
Yeah.
Man, you got a lot of quotes from Hitler. No. No, you got a lot of quotes from like really like good like books that help you make it.
I read a lot of
self-help?
I wouldn't call them self-help, but like a lot of nonfiction.
Huh.
Yeah, like a lot.
Like what do you mean?
Like a lot of like investment books, a lot of like biographies.
I used to love biographies.
I'm a huge biography.
Me too. Yeah. And I used to this day, if I meet someone from a certain town, I know people from that town. Like I met one of the comics, I think it was his wife. And I was like, where are you from? She's like, Buffalo, New York. I'm like, hey, the home of Wolf Blitzer. She's like, yeah? How do you know that? Like, well, he's originally born in Germany, but he lived in Buffalo. That's where he cut his teeth. I think he was a weatherman there. I was like, really? I'm like, I don't know. I just fascinated where people are from.
Right. She's like, I thought it's just the Wings.
I thought it was a Wings place in a place where
they have some
a football team loses every year.
Right. The Sabres.
But I find it fascinating where people are from. I don't know.
One of my favorite biographies is the one on Rockefeller. It's so good.
Really?
It's like 600 or 700 pages. It's a big one.
Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's the fabric of our society is built around oil and just he built the Standard Oil company from nothing.
Really?
He was the son of like a snake oil salesman who had traveled town to town, like basically selling like fake potions.
Huh.
Yeah.
What year is this? Like early 1900s?
Late 1800s, early 1900s.
The Rockefeller.
Yeah,
Wow.
and this is a guy who made calculated risks. Like at certain points, would have to like take out all the loans of all the money in the town just to be able to buy this one refinery, so he could make the oil and like go over here. I mean, granted, he was a very ruthless guy as well, but it was just so interesting to see a guy like just believe in himself, be disciplined with his books. He made all his kids keep ledgers of all their expenses to the dollar. And he wouldn't get them their allowance unless they turned it in exactly like a balanced ledger of like what they spent it on.
Huh.
Yeah.
Jay-Z made the right choice for a name for your record label, Rockefeller Records.
Yeah. I wonder if Jay-Z's read that book.
You know he has.
He seems like a smart guy.
Jay-Z is like you don't get that big unless your music, no matter how great your music is, you don't get that big unless you're smart. And if you really want to make it in show business, and by make it, I think that's changed for me over time. Before it has to be like, I need to be on SNL or I need to be like whatever. But then you go to the root of it. Like, what is it that you really want? Is SNL what you want? Do you want to do sketch and be in front of a live audience doing sketch and writing sketch and being ingratiated and engrossed by the whole show? Maybe that's not me.
Yeah.
But what I do want is what comes out of it, which is like a following, people that go to shows, people that like love watching you do stand-up
And
every
freedom.
year. And freedom. We talk about this, talk about it all the time, but being a made man or being a made person is being someone that sets their own rules for how their career is dictated.
And no one can take anything away from you.
No.
Yeah.
We talked about this one comic, there's two different spectrums of the comics I'm talking about here. One's a very young person, very much of the times, millennial. Another one is an older guy, but he's found his audience. Theo Von and Brandon Wardell, two guys that are podcasters that make a true living. One makes them obviously a better one, but these are the steps towards getting people in seats. People enjoy your work. People who will
both of those
support
guys
you.
have true fans.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and I have some. It's not to that degree, but everything is built over time, and both these guys really didn't hit their stride till maybe episode 120. So things build over time. And I think that's another thing too is in show business that you have to let things mature.
Yeah. And today's show business is no longer top down. It used to be like gatekeeper says go and here's a budget and then we're going to pump it in the system and everyone's going to be on all radio stations or it's going to be this big movie. And now it's bottom up. It's doing it. Oh, nothing's happening, but consistency. And then one day it's just that S curve and you're just like, boom, it pops.
You saw me today. Like, I was talking to my girlfriend and she was like, I forgot my laptop. I can't believe, to this day, I can't believe I'm even admitting this, but I forgot.
It's pretty embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Granted, I was sleeping at her place before she drove me to the
Hey,
airport.
hey, this is a PG-13.
We were having intercourse, and in the moment of passion, I threw my computer. No, I don't know why I have my computer in my hand. No, but like
Your girlfriend.
yeah, girlfriend, by which I mean my computer in my hand. No, so what happened was I was out of my element in terms of usually when I wake up to go to the airport, I do a quadruple check everything around my room. There's my computer plugged in, put it in my bag. I didn't have that, and I was disoriented. And anyway, the point is, I was so. You saw me. I was like, I couldn't believe, and it wasn't because I'm not allowed to surf the internet for stuff or like watch YouTube videos. It was all because of my podcast.
Yeah.
And you saw how much I was embarrassed, not because of anything. I could have just kept that under my hat and be like, yeah, you didn't see that. You don't go to it's not my room. But it's just because I wanted to podcast. Searching for ways to make it happen because I said to myself, Tuesdays, every morning, I want people listening to me know that, hey, when I go to work or when I go to the gym or whatever, I'm going to listen to all these things on Eddie's podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I
made it work. I got cables from you. I got your laptop. I recorded it. I rushed over here. I edited it. I got to go and boom.
Yeah.
And I think, you create these sort of like goals and these little like, not rules, but you have a discipline towards these goals. And I said, I'm not going to, if I can make it happen, I got to make it happen.
Yeah. The show must go on.
Show must go on. If I lost my luggage, I lost my, but there's a way.
There is. It's like the air conditioning went out of the comedy bunker.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could cancel the show. There's enough time.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm going to go buy a air conditioner and put it in the wall.
Or a fan or something.
Yeah, and then I'll return it later.
Yeah. You're making it happen because those are people that may not come back because they'll remember.
Well, look, I mean, we get pretty big comics. Some of the comics might be like, you just cancel shows. Like, I'm not going to put that on my calendar.
I'm talking about the audience members, though.
Yeah, but the audience might be like, too, like, I don't even know if this is real.
Yeah.
There's a certain thing. Like, I think Bill Maher's like never missed a show in his entire career.
I mean, if I ever miss a show, man, it really shakes me up a little bit.
I'm sure he's missed like spots when he was a comic.
Of course.
But like
to cancel tickets.
Like he's never canceled like a HBO show, never canceled like a, arena or whatever he does for shows. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really believe that like giving yourself some discipline too.
Yeah.
And granted, it's hard when you're creative to have discipline. You're like, you do it way more than I do. It's like you sit down and write. You have to also accept how you are as a writer. Do you write on stage or you're just constantly riffing? Do you sit down and paper to pen and just make it happen? But what you can be disciplined at is administrative stuff. Make sure you're tweeting, make sure you're posting, make sure your podcast is on, make sure it's edited right, make sure you're learning how to do more stuff with. I mean, there's a slew of things you can do to help yourself be more.
And you're only going to get better at posting and doing these things by posting. Like you'll be like, this kind of look is not my like visual voice or whatever.
Right,
this is kind of remember those? Everyone looks back at their old posts. And I was like, that shit was whack. Like, what was I doing? Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, podcasting has been great. I mean, that's the goal. The goal originally was like, be an SNL, but why? So I can, if I can be myself on something and build a fan base and sell tickets, I mean, that's the dream. And tour with buddies, and you can have that sort of like low-key fame where like you're not getting stopped at a Whole Foods, but you're not. It's not a thing if you're walking to a Whole Foods, but you get one or two people like, hey, big fan of the podcast.
Yeah.
Which is all you really want.
That's the best kind of fame.
All you need is you just need one.
Yeah.
It's just like someone's just, hey, loved you on the podcast.
Even people after sets are like, that was a great set. You're like, that's great.
Yeah, like when you're young, you want.
Yeah, you're like, I don't value your opinion at all, but thank you.
Yeah, honestly, all you are is a wallet that's walking to me. Thank you.
Right.
But I think with age, it changes too. You went from like, I want to be the biggest name in comedy to, I don't need that. If I can own a home and have everything paid for, have financial security for me and potentially a family, and it's all because of my art, and I'm growing as an artist, and a group of people who enjoy it are growing with me, then you made it.
Yeah.
Tom Segura's made it. Tom Segura.
He's absolutely
Tom
made
Segura's not at like walking the red carpet at the Oscars or at the Grammys fucking posing with like, Lady Gaga, but he's made it. And
that's not necessarily because I don't know him at all, whether he wants that or he probably could have that, but just the industry dynamics of like how many slots there are for that level famous has changed. Like think about Mariah Carey. Like there's no one in her spot still.
Right.
Because the industry doesn't revolve. Its dollars are not coming from these superstars anymore.
Right.
And so they're not busy making those investments. Like the industry's run by small transactions. Like Spotify collects $9 from all of us a month, and that fuels an entire music ecosystem. It's on everyone's phone at all the time.
Yeah, and that's just Spotify.
Yeah, and then YouTube is like some micro ads, Facebook's ads, like Google,
iTunes,
search, Amazon, like small percentage of transactions.
Right.
So that's the way the business. Netflix, same thing, $10-12 a month.
Right.
Fuels a huge content machine that's like investing billions every year.
What's your thoughts on? I mentioned this about Theo Von and Brandon Wardell. One's making a lot of money touring, the other one's doing well on Patreon. What's your thoughts on Patreon? Do you like it as a? Do you think it's eventually people are like? I think much like Napster, much like every other sort of artist-based platform, some companies swooping in, seeing dollars, and be like, we're going to do it too.
Yeah.
So
I think it's more about the donation model. I think that's going to stay.
You think so?
Yeah, because people like contributing to their fans, and Patreon's just a platform to do that it's a platform for the artist to put their music and or whatever they're producing available and describe it and collect the money. And it's a platform for the fans to engage, and their app is really well done and stuff. But if it's not Patreon, it's something else.
Do you think Luminary is going to do well?
I mean, in China, they had when people live stream, they'll like send money and stuff.
Really?
Like yeah. They'll like tip, or like gamers, when gamers live stream, people just go on and been like tip them like $10. Thank you for streaming. Tip them like $1. Thank you for streaming.
What's the app for that?
They do it a lot on Twitch.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that I went to a what's it called when there's a person behind the two-way mirror, and they do
cop?
No, it's like you got a group of people together and you're talking about a product.
Focus group.
Focus group. I did a focus group for Patreon. Did I tell you that?
You did.
Yeah. I did. They called me in as a creator,
and
they want to see ways we can improve the platform, the app, and what's your experience and stuff like that. It was interesting.
Yeah,
it was really interesting. I gave some insight that I thought would be great to be implemented. I thought that it'd be great if they had a discovery page. You like this podcast. This podcast is also doing well. This podcast is doing well. This. If you're someone who makes mold sculptures of animals, these are. Now I don't know if I don't know if
it's tough because there's a the other creators might not want that.
Because you might leech off the small ones, might leech off the big ones.
Yeah.
But I do. It's a hard thing because I don't. How do you feel about people posting publicly what they make? Do you think it's a bad thing?
That was an interesting thing.
What do you feel about that? Because why do I have to know how much he makes? But at the same time,
that's a choice, right?
That's a choice. It's a true choice.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice because, I would feel if it got really large, I would feel weird posting it.
Yeah.
But
what's the incentive for if I'm a fan? Do I want to give them more money?
I don't see any incentive of posting it. So let's say you make $500 a month on Patreon, then it's kind of like, it makes it seem like there's no mystery. It makes it seem the podcast seems small.
Right.
And then if you're making a ton of money, you're like, wow, this guy's like, it almost feels like kind of weird and gross. You're like, oh, this guy's making so much money.
And really? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does it lure more people? Do people are like, I want to be part of this?
But maybe it's like when you're let's say you're making like $20,000 to $40,000 a month on Patreon. Maybe at that point, your fans know what you do with the money, and it's like you give it away or something. Like, I would feel super weird if that supported my whole life.
Yeah.
Because then I would feel like every time I posted about buying something, that they bought it for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if it got to that level, you'd have to be like, oh, I donate the money to charity, or oh, hey, we're going to do this cool because of the Patreon.
We decorate a studio or something.
Yeah, or we would do a special concert for you guys. Yeah. It feels like something to give back, but I don't know.
I mean, it seems to be working for some people.
Yeah.
Posting it publicly.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a baseline level where you're like, oh, great, I'm supporting this creator so he can pay his bills and he can keep creating for me.
Right.
I think there's
dedicate time
to it. And then there's a crossover point where you're like, oh, okay, this person is getting a lot of money from this, which I think is fine. But, and that maybe when you get to there, your other revenue streams are growing anyway. So your Patreon's big, but now your touring is big. So that's even more than your Patreon. And so you're more free to do fun stuff with the Patreon money.
I think if any artists are listening to this and you are, you make sketches or you paint or whatever you do, I mean, I do like the idea that there is a platform for someone who can find you. Because if you really think about it, if you utilize what you have, everyone has a screen in their hand. And if you post enough on Instagram of, let's say, for arbitrarily speaking, you paint, and you post your work, you post your process on Instagram, you film you painting and then speed it and put in fast time on your story. You be creative with it, and then you sell or you have a Patreon page to help you support your art. Now you got two platforms working together. One's letting people see it, the other one's allowing people to donate towards it.
Yeah.
So I think that there's never been more tools at your disposal to make it a business.
Right.
So podcasting is a great example. But when I did that focus group, They had one of every type of. They had someone who has a political blog. There's someone that was an artist, like a real artist that did stuff with like driftwood or something.
Yeah.
And it was me and my buddy, another buddy was a podcaster, and they gave me some tips on what to do and how to really customize your tiers. And it was interesting. It was interesting because there is real money to be made and the real business to be had in that avenue. So I think, see what other people are doing, and you don't have to like truly emulate, but you can at least be inspired.
Yeah. I mean, it's a community. And so just like all things, you can see, what songs are working on Spotify. If you're a artist, you can see what views on YouTube are popping if you're a visual artist. Like we're all, nothing works forever. So monitoring the trends is like looking at the chart, like who's on top, who's doing well. And
what do you feel about the whole Instagram getting rid of the views and stuff like that?
That's a Canadian thing, right?
It's a beta tested in Canada.
Yeah.
But they're doing it.
I love that they beta test in Canada. Like Canadians just like every post anyway.
Yeah. How do you think they're going to feel about chocolate ketchup? Put it in Canada. See if they like it.
Did they do that?
No, I don't know. Maybe cool they did.
God, yeah.
We got all the cool flavors up here. Like,
right.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah. Ketchup chips. Oh, shit, they like them.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. That was just like...
That was like a joke.
Yeah, we just put that out there.
Yeah, dill pickle.
Yeah, Canada's just a guinea pig for America. That's what we're saying. No, but good people. We're from there. It's going to be interesting for people who make a true living as an influencer.
It feels like they want to take power away from the influencers.
You think so?
And I mean, those are discussions that I've been having with people. They're like, they want to take the power away from influencers so they can pay for ads.
What do you mean?
Instead of like, because influencers have a lot of power over the platform, especially the ones at the very top.
Right. So let's say you got like a 500,000 to 1 million followers, legit followers. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of power because let's just say Lululemon comes to you. You're like let's say you're a fitness person and you post your progress and different exercises and there's a lot of them on there and that make a real living. And I don't know, Lululemon comes to you and says, can you endorse this new sports bra or something? Mm-hmm. Instagram has no part of it.
No. It's
you and Lululemon, or you and the company, and they want a piece of it. So how is getting rid of the views?
Well, it's changing the focus, because right now, like a lot of those people, they have teams of other people, liking and commenting and increasing engagement. And I think there's a certain element of they want it to be more organic, like the things you like and don't worry about engagement. So there's like that that feels like one of their goals. And the other goal is to make it more about ads. That's what it feels like. This is not like official stuff, because it feels like the platform's always pushing you towards like advertising, which makes sense. That's how they make their money.
Of course.
So even if it's like a $10, $20 ad. And so if they can make the platform the power as opposed to the people with likes. And a lot of it's like, this happens. You see someone, you're like, oh, they have a lot of followers, I'll follow them. Or like it makes them seem more legitimate.
Right.
And they want
but they have to post the followers. They're not going to have you not post the followers at all. They keep that completely muted to everybody. They've strategically made it smaller in the Canada versions.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you do know that there was some turmoil over there because the two guys who started Instagram left to do other things. So I'm sure they had all these discussions about the direction of the platforms. And at some point, they decided that it wasn't. I
mean, it's beta testing here. I really don't see them getting rid of the views. I feel
the problem is that all these social media sites could, go away. Like a new one could always pop up. It's really hard because Facebook's so entrenched. But if a new one popped up and says, hey, you can like again now. I mean, that's how Instagram. Remember, Facebook was all about your photos, and then they created the news feed. Then it was all this other stuff, and Instagram's like, "Hey, remember that photo thing that was cool? We're just doing that."
Yeah.
And then someone will come and be like, "Oh, remember that thing where you could like photos?"
Snapchat was like, "Hey, want to see stories in real time? Watch people live a life in a weird kind of be a fly on the wall for this person's like house party, or they're at the Grammys or whatever." And Instagram's like, "Hey, we'll do that too."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And Vine was like, hey, want to see these little videos? Instagram's like, we got videos too.
Yeah, the boomerang. It was weird that Twitter bought Vine and shut it down.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
Vine was huge.
Vine was big. Vine was big. I really feel like 6 seconds, though, it could have been, if it was a little bit more time.
But they could have always been like 12 seconds. Like they just kind of let it die. They let it die on the Vine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, Instagram really squeezed them out. I mean, once they integrated video, it was like, it's over.
Yeah.
Everyone's already there, you know.
Yeah.
And once they did stories, it's like Snapchat just died. And it's kind of nice, though, as a comic, as an entertainer, because, all right, before you had to juggle these three things, Instagram, Vine, Snapchat, and you had to be present or relevant. You had to do these things. And I remember being on Snapchat and constantly just posting on my story.
And it goes away and has no durability.
It goes away and it's gone. You can't even repost it at all. And
yeah.
I know friends that were on Vine that were like, well, I made this funny thing and it's just gone forever. And I thought, well, that's how life is. We have these moments and they're gone forever. It's anything that's mirroring who we are. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
If you want a memory, then you can just record it. But like
at least you have the choice now. Like stories disappear.
You have the choice, and you can repost them and have like this whole long highlight feed. But it is nice that everything's centralized into one app. Granted, that one app goes away, then a lot of people's careers go away. But these things are available to all of us, and we can like really utilize them. And if you're in show business, I mean,
it's the first thing you check.
First thing you check. I mean, I had my podcast. I want all the traffic to go to my page, but I was like, well, maybe some people want to follow everything to do with the podcast and not exactly my career.
Right.
And maybe some people separate them too. Like I love the podcast. I like him too, but like I like his podcast, so I follow the podcast. So
yeah, and some people will follow one and not the other, etc.
Sometimes, but at the end of the day,
both.
At the end of the day, both are in my control and both are at my disposal when it comes to people.
And especially like when you're promoting something, you can promo it a lot harder on the just the podcast page.
For instance, my podcast, we had over 1,000 followers. My old podcast, Barely Friending. They weren't comedians. They weren't showbiz people. They're 100% people who are engaged in the podcast.
Yeah.
You get a couple dead bots, a couple people are inactive accounts. But, our engagement was great. We post a picture of me and her, and we get 200 likes, and we have 1,000 followers. So they're in it.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes I feel like it's hard because we have our Instagram accounts, respectively, but they're also friends and their family and their coworkers and their contemporaries and
they're entertainment biz people.
Yeah, so they're not as engaged. It's not truly there's fans in there.
Yeah.
So I think if you're in show business, that you have, let's say you're an artist and some like a
they're
painter.
fans, but they're not audience.
Right, big difference.
Big difference.
You can have your personal account and separate your artist account.
Yeah.
And obviously link them, tag yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that slowly where it's like, oh, maybe people don't want to see my complete life. They just want to see when I'm posting a new podcast every week and what I'm going to be talking about.
Right.
And there's a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm not a lifestyle brand. I'm not like my whole page isn't just me at the gym or me only on stage or me doing only videos. It's a little bit of who I am. It's about, so I have to differentiate myself with other accounts. So I think that's a big one with show business.
Yeah, and like we talked about, like the comedians who go after a show and hand out stickers and do all those things, like it always feels weird to do it.
Of course.
Like you feel weird, but like those are fans.
Yeah, or they will be.
Right, those are potential fans. Those are people who saw you, and now you're creating another touch point for them, giving them something they can go home with, and maybe it has all your socials
and
on
you
it.
immediately separate yourself from everybody else, even if you weren't as liked as the other comics.
Yeah, you're more memorable. Because I mean, like how often, and we're comics, do you leave a show and be like, oh yeah, like, at the time you're like, this was good, this was good, this was good, but the next day you forgot all the good bits that the other people did, and you forgot who was funny and who wasn't funny.
Yeah.
If you go home with a sticker, you're like, oh yeah, I like that guy, and then that guy or girl's coming back to my city because I followed them now, and now I'll go to their show.
Yeah. So I mean, I think with anything in show business, you have to be present. You have to be aware of what's new, what's working, and I mean that in terms of a technical sense, not in terms of like all your tools and like Instagram and social media. Like, we both produce shows individually in Los Angeles. Eventbrite is another great tool.
Yeah,
You know what I
platform.
mean? It's a great platform. Now I know if I want to run my own show where it's me, all about me, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to use Eventbrite. I love the statistics of it all. So these tools are out there. You just have to give yourself a chance to sort of ingratiate yourself in them.
Yeah, a little bit of a learning curve, and then all of a sudden you know how to use MailChimp or Eventbrite and all these things.
Yeah, and my podcast is growing, and watching it, it's a little frustrating because I know what big numbers are.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting again.
Yeah.
But what's the difference? I was on TV in Canada, and I was a nobody in America. And I still am to a degree, but I'm growing. And if you can't, you have to bet on yourself again.
Yeah.
I tell a buddy about this. I'm doing a solo podcast, and the podcast is called Exactamundo. We take buried news stories and we roast them appropriately, stuff that goes under the radar a little bit. And I told my buddy this, like, wow, man, good for you really putting yourself out there. I'm like, that's what we all wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
You being on stage alone is that putting yourself out there.
Right, yeah.
So I think...
But there's a certain amount of that comics get comfortable with.
Right.
They're like, they have no problem doing that part of it.
Right.
But like, it's like a brand new way for them to fail, to potentially fail.
You have some people that have like, they paint. Again, I use a. I think I.
Do you have an easel at home?
No, but there's a lot of
canvas?
artwork here that I have questions. So I can only assume an artist decorated this place. But another microcosm of another on a smaller scale, you'll see someone who like creates art, puts it online. I go, are you gonna have like a show, a gallery? Like, it's like really putting myself out there.
Yeah,
Is it?
Right, or the person who makes music but never releases it.
Yeah.
I met so many talented artists who do that. They just make albums and albums.
Or the podcast has never been posted. Okay.
Oh.
No, you will be. You will be posting. You're like your backlog.
Well, but I mean, that is a fair point because like I started the podcast a couple months ago, recorded a few. I'm like, okay, I think I want it to be a bit more natural, a bit less investment focused, which is fine. And it's going to be hard for me when these hit.
Putting yourself out there is tough. But
even like hiring a guy to make the artwork.
All these things I did, and when you do it and you press like publish and you put it out there, it's out there.
Yeah,
it's out there to be liked, to be followed, to be subscribed, to be commented on, to be scrutinized, to be ignored.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you go through. You go through this. I mean, I had a conversation with my girlfriend on the way to meeting you, to uploading it. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
are people liking this? Do people?
Yeah.
She's like, I think. Being in a relationship, that helps a lot too. You got that person talking off the ledge. Like,
right.
If you have fun recording it, it'll be fun. They'll find you. And it might be episode 100 before someone says, this is the
jam.
thing. Yeah. And it'll change and evolve. And maybe guests will float in and out, or maybe a co-host will float in and out.
Yeah.
But much like your career, I mean, at one point I stood on stage and told a joke, and I didn't walk out and be like, well, when's this ever going to click?
But I think I was telling you, like, it took me a long time to even put myself on my own flyers for my show.
Right.
Because I was like you're really putting yourself out there and saying, like, hey, this is who I am now. Right. This is what I'm about. And, like, no one comes to the show. The show doesn't end up being good or whatever. And
right.
So, but no risk, no reward, right?
Right. And all these things can be erased, too. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like, you put yourself out there. If you don't like it, you can take it down.
Yeah. And I think we always overestimate, like, everyone's watching what we're doing.
No one's watching.
Everyone has their own life.
Yeah. Especially our contemporaries, people that are like, I guarantee you none of my friends have listened to my podcast.
Right.
And granted, none of my friends are going to buy tickets when I do my own show. The people who are going to buy tickets are people that are regular people that are in show business. And this is their gateway to, like, laughing, having a good time, sitting down, enjoying a night, and I hope to be that person. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, I won't buy one. So
okay. I wouldn't even put you on guest list.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even get to like some of the stuff about investing, so we'll have to do that next time.
Hey, another episode. Hit me up.
Yeah.
Let's go come back to Canada and record another episode.
Right. We'll get this Airbnb. Thanks, Tina.
Love it. Tina, is this her on the walls?
I don't know.
Because she's very beautiful. Anyway, I might take a throw pill.
Yeah, but this has been great. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you mentioned your podcast,
Exactamundo. You can find on iTunes. Yeah.
Follow him at Eddie Della Siepe.
If you can't spell Della Siepe, if you type in Eddie Della, you'll find me. And on Twitter, on Instagram, Exactamundo on iTunes. Give it a listen. Maybe you might like it. And if you do, keep listening. Subscribe.
Yeah. And shout out to Kuya Productions for lending us their mics.
Hey.
And Toronto's original produced Alessia Cara and all those great hits. So we see you, and thank you.
No problem. See ya.